Let's try that again. Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Jack Roth, your real estate host, your real estate agent, and today I will be your news reporter and apparently your YouTube star. So this is going to be our first recorded episode that will be going up on YouTube. So not only will it be joining Spotify, Apple Music, or Apple Podcasts, excuse me, and some other platforms that I have this, sent to, but it's going to be going up on YouTube so that y'all can see me. I'm going to try and be super relaxed, but I highly doubt that's going to happen. You'll probably see me fidget a bunch and whatnot, probably not look straight at the camera every time. But this is the first YouTube video I have ever made, and it marks an important step in the journey, which is the first step. You just got to get it done. And this week I've been building out this studio, and it's super, super intimidating to be sitting here in front of the camera because I have a light right there, and to my right over here. And I've got the mic in front of me, and then of course the camera. The camera has a microphone of its own as well. Then I've got a monitor. There's a lot going on. I've got my audio recording software popped up here, and then I've got all of my news and my notes for today. There's so much happening right now. I am shitting bricks sitting here trying to figure out how I'm going to remain composed and professional, but that's not necessarily the goal. As me and my girlfriend were building out this studio this week, we came up with this motto that said, not perfect, just good enough. And that is exactly how I'm operating today because I have a tendency for perfectionism. I posted on Facebook this morning, super excited to share this studio. It was a lot of work that went into it. A lot of it was just done on a budget, kind of DIY. It's all plywood and peel and stick wallpaper and stuff. But the goal was to make it look professional enough, to use, but not necessarily, like a newscasting studio or a professional movie studio. What you guys see here on frame is what's important. The background does not matter at all. So we're shooting for a decent end product here. It doesn't have to look pretty in the process, but it's what we're doing. It's where we are. And this is how we're starting off the podcast today. So like I said, guys, my name is Jack Roth. I'm a real estate agent here in Dallas, Texas, with RE/MAX DFW Associates, the largest RE/MAX brokerage in North Texas. And I'm super happy to announce, actually, I was just appointed a spot on the advisory council for RE/MAX DFW Associates. And we've got our first meeting in 3 weeks. So that'll be really interesting to see. I'm the youngest agent on the advisory council, probably by a good margin. Being 23 and in a career where the median age of your coworkers is more than double your age, it is definitely interesting to kind of collaborate and get together and see what everybody thinks and, kind of hear everybody's thoughts and their thought processes because it is very different from somebody who is 23. So that's super exciting. I'm really excited to be a part of that. I'm really honored to be a part of that, honestly. I went into a meeting with my manager the other day. We're doing some mentorship together, and he's helping me work out some kinks that I've experienced in the last few weeks of my business. And he said, "Hey, I don't want to put this on you, but I want to hand you the opportunity essentially to accept this if you want to." And I gladly accepted. I love my manager and our managing broker and the owner of the RE/MAX DFW franchise, Mark Wolf. I respect everybody very highly. They've been nothing but good to me. So that was just a quick little RE/MAX plug for you. I'm super happy here. I've been here just over a year now, but I've been in real estate for the last 5 or so years of my life. If you are listening to this on audio, which is really weird to address multiple audiences now because I'm looking at you guys there on camera, but I'm talking to them on Spotify through this microphone. So it's really odd to address multiple audiences, I guess. I was going to say something, totally lost my train of thought. I apologize. This episode is definitely going to be a bit of a train wreck. As I said, I've never done this before, and everything that I'm saying is not scripted. It is all improv, essentially. So as we kind of go through this, you're probably going to, be thinking, oh, you already said that. Yeah, I know. As soon as it comes out of my mouth, I'm, just like, oh, shit, sorry. But it's where we are. Anyways, I want to get into some real estate news that is local to Dallas, and then we've got some national news as well. There are some new developments going up, a new bank in Uptown coming up next year, I believe. And then we've got some news regarding mortgage rates. I've got a piece from one of my lenders over at Churchill Lending where he kind of breaks down some myths, some questions, and I guess some concerns from buyers, because the housing market right now is kind of tumultuous. That's a big word for me today. But it is kind of all over the place. People, in my experience at least, when I'm hosting open houses or talking to clients, I also bartend at night just to give me kind of a social outlet. And when I talk to people about real estate, because inevitably it does come up, a lot of people have a lot of questions and they are slightly confused about the state of the market. So we're going to go over all of that today. I want to start with mortgage rates because it's going to be the easiest thing for us to get through, I think. There's not a ton of news regarding those. Rates came up 0.04% or 0.04 percentage points over the last week. We're now at 6.71%, which kind of marks the end of our little downward trend that we had going for the past month or so. And then our 15-year fixed rate loan is sitting at 6.06%. So we've kind of just been hovering in between that 6 and 7% mark now for a few months. And I think people are starting to definitely get used to it. Everybody says that mortgage rates are still high. And so that's why I reached out to my lender, Randy, over at Churchill. And I just asked him his opinion on things, and he said current rates compared to historic rates, the average 30-year mortgage rate dating back to 1971 is just under 8%. So current rates are still well below that 50-year average and in line with everything else. Rates peaked in the late 80s and early 90s near 18%. And he thinks that we have been spoiled over the past few years, which I definitely agree with abnormally low rates due to the pandemic, obviously. And so I asked him his thoughts on the reality of buying or borrowing money in this market. And he said that most buyers seem to adjust their rate expectations to the current market, so rates haven't been a huge issue this year. Inventory is our biggest competition right now. It is the greatest driving factor of the housing market currently. So inventory is still very tight, particularly, especially in the first-time home buyer price range of about $250,000 to $500,000. And one of the products that Randy offers that I really like is that he fully underwrites clients before we even get a contract written for a property, so that way we can maintain that competitive edge from essentially day one. We get that client underwritten, we go out, we find a home, we can put an offer in and close on that in about 2 weeks. So it's as competitive as a cash offer, essentially. And then I asked him what some of the myths that he has heard recently, and if he was willing to dispel any of those. And Randy's been around a long time. He's been lending for a long, long time, probably longer than I've been alive, honestly. But one of the myths that he hears and that I hear a lot is, quote, maybe we should wait until rates or home prices come down, end quote, are the most common comments I hear from home buyers today. However, there is no sign of home prices coming down in North Texas anytime soon, at least not significantly. We will get into that later in the episode here. But we expect to continue to have more demand for housing than supply for the foreseeable future, which means home prices will likely continue to increase or stay the same. As for rates, they should come down eventually, but no one knows exactly when. Waiting for lower rates would likely result in paying substantially more for a home. And I kind of covered that last week's episode, where we talked about how rates have been kind of on the fritz lately. They had a little 3-week downtrend for a while, but they obviously came back up this week. But looking at the history of mortgage rates, we see that it takes about 10 years for them to correct back into what they previously were. And so I talked about this last week, and I said that if you are looking for a home right now, look for a long-term investment, a 5 to 10 year purchase and hold. You're buying something that you could be comfortable in, that if you want to grow your family in, if that's your goal, do that for the next 5 or 10 years. And the good news is that, if rates do come down, you can always refinance. And I talked about this last week as well. A lot of lenders right now are offering programs where they will pay for the closing costs on your refinance. If you refinance in the next 2 years or so, when you use them as your lender, just because, there's so much uncertainty right now. As far as local news, there's a new Bank of America coming to Uptown. It's going to be on McKinney Avenue, right by the Crescent Hotel, which is exciting because Bank of America does not have an Uptown location. They've got one in Oak Lawn and East Dallas, but not Uptown. So they're going to be right smack dab in the middle of things, which is great if you bank with Bank of America, but I would not recommend going into a large commercial bank like that for lending purposes. Essentially, it's going to be a lot easier and a lot better for you to use a private lender. They've just got a lot more products that are more consumer friendly as opposed to a large chain bank like that. But that's pretty much all I'm going to say about that. I could go on and on and on about it, but it's not really my place, I guess. In other news, we've got a affordable housing community, I guess you could call it, coming to South Dallas. Dallas Housing Foundation has been working on this for the last 4 or 5 years, I believe, since 2019, early 2019. And they finally acquired all of the lots in 2021. And they are finally able to build on those, and they are building duplexes that will be listed in the 200s per unit, not for the whole duplex. And so it's going to be about 3 square blocks. It is, let me see what streets we're on here. On Malcolm X and Al Lipscomb, it's kind of at the corner of those, and it is going to be, I believe, 17 units. So that's super exciting. It's going to kind of be right at the entrance of South Dallas when you're coming through Deep Ellum and everything. So it'll be an interesting development, no pun intended there, to see these duplexes being built. Where are we at? Home prices have come down a little bit. We were just saying in Randy's piece there that home prices were not going to come down anytime soon, but they have continued to decline slightly. And by that, it's kind of a tricky subject because they are all over the place. Dallas Morning News says that nationally, single-family home prices fell 0.2% from April 2022 to April 2023, down from an annual gain of 0.7% in March. The latest reading of S&P CoreLogic Case-Shiller Home Price Index shows. In Dallas-Fort Worth, though, prices were down 2.9% from the previous April after a 1.2% year-over-year decrease in March. But then it goes to say that from March to April, U.S. prices were up 1.3% and local prices were up 1.4%. So not really entirely sure what that means, are prices rising or not. I think what they're trying to get at is that for the last few months, prices have come down. But as we enter the summer market, which is traditionally a lot more busy than the fall and winter markets, home prices have started to come back up. There's a bit more demand. Kids are out of school. People are willing to move when there's less logistics involved, and so prices have begun to creep back up a little bit. And I have seen that we are back in the multiple offer phase. Almost everybody that I talk to that has listings right now is experiencing multiple offers because the demand is still there. I talked about this last week as well. Sorry to reference that so much, but you can go listen to last week's episode if you are confused on what I'm saying. But people are moving out of necessity right now. Anybody with a new job or anything like that is moving to out of necessity, essentially. They're not really moving because it's an opportunity, but moving because they have to. Let's see. I don't know that I have any more news to cover for you. Essentially, the goal of today's podcast episode was to sit down in this blue chair in my studio and record this video and try not to butcher the whole thing. And like I was saying earlier, all of this is improv, so I apologize if I was repeating myself or anything like that. But I'm super excited to get this done. This is only take 2, believe it or not. I did one take earlier that lasted about 2 minutes, and then I royally screwed that up, so we had to restart a little bit. But we're here. We are getting it done. I'm excited to put this out. If you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, I appreciate you. If you want to see my face and see what I am talking about as far as this studio goes, head over to YouTube. I will link that in all of the descriptions. So I appreciate you guys. We're going to wrap this up. I don't want to drag this along for too long here. But I appreciate you listening as always, and I'm sure that we're going to get a lot better at these as we practice more. And for those of you on YouTube who are new, who are just scrolling by, I put out new episodes of this podcast, Real Estate Roundup, every single Friday, with the exception of the 2-month hiatus that I took recently. But we are back into it, and hopefully I've got some good news for you guys next week. So I will see you later. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you have a fantastic Friday and an even better weekend. I'm out. Welcome back to the podcast. Fuck me. That was such a bad introduction, guys. Sorry.